Cam Radio, Tony G, Big Blue, the sports book on KHAM Radio. National championship game between Notre Dame and Ohio State. Making it through the gauntlet to be in the national championship. We'll get to that. Have NFL, a lot of crazy stuff. Breaking off into game one, and this is so aggravating. The Chargers we thought were going to be the Chargers of all year, and my hat's off to the Texans. But man, Herbert went to his old ways. A lot of stupid penalties. It wasn't on him, but the team. He threw 4 interceptions. Just reverted right back to the old Herbert. And I mean, everything that they have accomplished this year, they still had a good year, but man, very disappointing. Um, CJ Stroud had a good day. Joe Mixon had a good day, 106 yards rushing. Uh,
Hmm.
the Chargers just couldn't get anything going. They were just he couldn't get he just couldn't get anything going.
No.
It was pretty bad actually. It was like wow. And my hats off to Houston. They came to play.
Hmm.
I like I said, I picked San Diego, lost. But like I said, Texas moves on, and the Chargers, like I said, they had a good season. Um, they'll be back. Just got to clean up all the bad play. Just got to
Hmm.
clean up all the bad play. Um,
Yeah.
was really surprised at this one. I was really surprised at how bad that San Diego looked. But like you said, moving on, the Texans move on to the next round. The Ravens and the Steelers happened just the way we said it was going to happen. Um,
Yes.
Only thing was they didn't hit the over. The Ravens covered the spread. The Steelers 10-7. They say they're going to get away from Wilson at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lou.
Okay. Yeah. We had a little freeze there, but we could work that
It's,
out.
we can work it out.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I was about to say. Uh. With the rush thing, I think they're going to try Justin Fields. I think they're going to give him a. I think they're going to give him a try. I think they can got they can you. I think you get we getting all we can get out of Russ or all he's going to give. I think we've seen the best of him, and I think this Russ that's on the field right now, it's not going to get you far. It has flashes, but you need the consistency is not there anymore.
Derrick Henry ran for 186 yards. Um, the other thing about Lamar is if you watch the Ravens' success, it's based off of they're not going to throw the ball a lot, 20 times, 22 times. Lamar's going to run, Henry's going to run, and they're just going to eat away at you. And until you make Lamar until you take that away from them, whether jumping out 2 touchdowns or ahead of them where they have to pass the ball, you have no way of stopping them. You know what I mean? You have to take the running game away from them. And if you jump out in the lead, obviously it changes how much they're going to have to pass. And that's one thing about Lamar's numbers. They are great. But he doesn't throw the ball a lot. He's not a 40-50 time. That's not how they're built, which is fine. That they win with it. So my hat's off to the Ravens, the Steelers. Like I said, yeah, Justin Fields looks like they're going to get him to be the quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised if because they got him cheap. They got both of them cheap. So that being said, it'd be interesting to see where Russ goes. I don't know if he has
Hmm.
the I don't know if he has the personality to be a backup.
No, no,
I don't.
no. He's definitely not back up now. But it's Russ, so he probably would take that role on a team that has the potential to get to the next level. I can see him tutoring up and coming quarterback or something of that nature, giving them intangibles and things like that. But I can't see him as a backup. A
No,
quarterback's coach or tutor, yes, but just a backup. No, I can't see that. Can't see it with Russ.
the so like I said, it'll be interesting to see where he goes. I'm sure he'll end up somewhere for another season, ride it out,
Yeah.
um, try to get some of that money that Denver owes him. I'm sure it's
Hmm.
minimum now, or it's at a lower number. Um, so we got three more games to go. One of the games that really, really kind of made me wonder was the Bills and the Broncos. I don't know
Yes.
what the game plan was for the first half because it obviously was not put the ball in the air. Buffalo just
Mm.
kept trying to run in the red zone, which I didn't understand. Wasn't trying any passes, just kept three and out field goal. And I'm just like, I don't understand what we're
Right.
doing because at one point it was 13 to 7. And I know they
Yes.
dominated on the statistics, but it got a little scary there because I was like, man, what are we doing? Why are we letting Josh air it out? And
Right.
then and like into the late into the third quarter is like they just turned a switch on and said, okay, now we're gonna throw the ball.
Hmm.
And we're gonna talk about the Ravens and them matchup, but Bo Nix had 144 yards, had 22 attempts. Josh had 26 attempts, 20 he was 20 for 26, 272 yards. Um, James Cook ran for 120. I get that, trying to get the running game going, but I just did not agree with trying to run it in the end zone and settling for three. You know what I mean? Just
Right.
wasting the red zone area like they did. Hopefully they'll have a different kind of game plan coming up this week. Um, let's see what else we got. Bear with me, Mac. The Packers and the Eagles, man. I mean, that's another team. The Eagles just are not there to score a lot of points. They're there to run the ball and
Right.
they're terrible for an over. That they that touchdown. I mean, it just they held back. And if you're gonna bet an over, don't bet it on the Eagles. I've made that mistake before. Just not a good because they will eat up a clock without scoring, and it's don't understand the purpose behind it. I think eventually that game plan that they have, I think is going to come back and haunt them by not being aggressive. Um, because there was times they could have scored and they just didn't. They were just happy. They just like the Bills. I mean, the Bills dominated time of possession just like the Eagles did. But man, they got some work to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. They do. Absolutely. Um, they got some retooling to do. They gotta get some high caliber players in, or they gotta get another defensive back coach or somebody that could teach them some intangibles because um what they got going right now is not working for the
And
future,
they
I should say.
and they made some mistakes. They made a lot of mistakes. Lafleur he was he was livid on the sidelines. I mean, you could
Yeah.
see they made a lot of mistakes, and um, they got a way to go. They're a young team, but they got some areas. I mean, they're going to be making some pickups in the off season. There's no doubt that. Um, but yeah, Eagles move on. That defense is tough. There ain't no doubt about that. I'll give them that. The defense is very, very tough. So tell me how surprised you were at the Commanders and the and Buccaneers.
Well, Commanders and Buccaneers, it turned out to be a pretty good game, and with the I didn't expect for the Commanders to win. I thought that Baker and the guys were going to go to the next round, but I'm also not shocked that the Commanders did take that win because Jalen has been proven that he's been clutch for the last 4 to 5 games. So it doesn't shock me that they won, but at the same time, I thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to be the year Baker turns it around and start climbing up that hill.
Well, some of the other issue that I had was, I mean, Jaden Daniels threw the ball 35 times, completed
Mm-hmm.
24, 200. I mean, Baker Mayfield only had 18 attempts. They were stuck on that ground game too, and
Right.
I just didn't see. I mean, I was just didn't understand why they weren't trying to air it out more. Um, and later in the game, I mean, I'm like, what are we doing? I don't know. I don't know, some of the game plans, and maybe they saw something I didn't see, and maybe they could control the clock, but it did not work um, at all. I mean, the Tampa Bay rushed for over a little bit over 100 as a team, um, but the passing yards were 185. Like I said, he only threw the ball 18 times. I think Baker's good there. I think they need a lot
Yeah.
of help. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they need. I think there's a lot of um, there's a lot of good things going on in Tampa, but they need to make some serious pickups on the offense, some weapons, couple on defense, make up some make up. I mean, that's one of the biggest things there is who you're acquiring during the off season, during the season, what trades are being made, because you got to constantly be on the be on the prowl for more talent. I mean, that's one thing that you
Mm-hmm.
see. All the teams that are winning, they're steadily picking up, trying to make acquisitions. Um, that being said, then we'll talk about the matchups, the spreads. But what do you think about national championship, Ohio State, Notre Dame? What are you thinking?
Um, I'm thinking it's going to be a good matchup. It's going to be a great game. Seems like with college football, it always delivers. I do agree with some of the gripes about, positioning and the teams that are selected to go into the college football playoff. But
Right,
if I'm not mistaken, it's done by strength of schedule or your winning percentage in your schedule. It goes by winning percentage in your division and strength of schedule. Am I correct?
right.
Okay. So
Yeah, 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 yeah.
because because I don't think we're gonna see like the lower end teams that got in this year. I don't think we're gonna see that next year. I think they're gonna tweak
Well,
on it.
I mean, they're right now. It's an 8 team. I mean, maybe you make it a 10 team. But I
Yeah.
mean, at some point, you got to turn it off. What I mean? At some
Mm-hmm.
point, you got to say, okay, how many teams are we letting in this? What I mean? I'm not
Right.
against them adding another 2 teams, but that's about all I can see. Um, but you look at Notre Dame's path. They beat
Mm-hmm.
Indiana. They beat Georgia. They beat Penn State. A lot of people didn't think they could make it. I mean? A lot of people
Right.
didn't think they could make it past Georgia. Made it past Georgia, beat Penn State during the national championship. And you got Ohio State. They beat Tennessee. They beat Oregon, undefeated Oregon. They play Texas, beat
Mm-hmm.
Texas, and you got now you got Notre Dame, you got Ohio State in the national championship. Let's see what we got on. See if I can pull this up real quick, Lou. I might not be able to. I don't know. All right, let's see if we can pull it up. I'm trying to pull up Let's see if we can do. Um, See if you can pull up. For some reason, it's giving me a hard. Let me see. And always, you gotta love the internet. Sometimes you gotta love the internet.
Yeah,
I'm trying to pull up.
it's
Trying to
technology.
pull. Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the spread on the game. Is what I'm trying to pull up. Let me see.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's go here. Vegas spread. There we go. All right. Because I know Ohio State's got to be the favorite. Okay.
Right.
This is giving money lines. Notre Dame on the money line is plus 1100 at Bet 365, plus 280 at MGM. DraftKings is plus that plus 1100 is a little much.
Hmm.
Caesars is plus 300. FanDuel's plus they're all about 300, a little bit over. Um, I'm trying to get the actual what was those free picks odds spread. See if you can get the actual spread. National. Okay. It says Ohio State, Notre Dame. Ohio State is
Okay.
minus 8.5.
Yeah. Mine say.
That's yeah. Ohio State's minus 8.5. Um, Notre Dame, I mean, the slipper may fit. You never know. This could be a um, uh, this could be I mean, it could be. It's hard to go against Ohio State than being big bad, and I know Notre Dame just hasn't had the schedule, but looking at who they beat,
Right.
um, I mean, Ohio State beating Oregon. I get Oregon was undefeated, but everybody questions Oregon being in there because their schedule. Them beating Texas, Tennessee, but Notre Dame, like I said, they beat Georgia and they beat Penn State, and Penn State.
Yeah.
I mean, Penn State and in Georgia. I mean, that's some. I'm looking at that spread, Lou, and golly, it's just hard to go against Ohio State. I know there's going to be
Yeah.
some people. I mean, I think if you're going to bet it, I mean, bet Notre Dame. You're going to bet the upset. Bet it on the money line. Bet it. You know what I mean? If you're going to bet it, because I think that's how it's going to play out. Either Notre Dame's going to win or they're going to get blown out. I don't see it being. Um, but my hats off to the coach, and they're playing out their mind right now. They are on fire. Um, and like I said, Ohio State just hasn't had. They have been um, on top of their game
Hmm.
all season. Um, they
I
are.
don't think.
What you got?
Oh. Oh, I was gonna say. I just don't think that Notre Dame has the caliber of player that Ohio State's have
I agree
because
with you. I totally
yeah,
agree with you there.
because they're 5 stars or 3 stars at Ohio State. So,
No, that's
I
true.
just I just think
Every
they don't have the performers like Ohio State does.
and I think you're 100% right. But that being said, and Penn State's, I mean, everybody they beat to get there it was the same. It was the same deal, and
Hmm.
part of me don't want to be. We remember the '80 Olympics when we beat the Russians, and when Washington beat Washington beat Oakland, or when Oakland beat. I mean, there's been a lot of great stories, and I just don't. I just hate to miss out on this one. Um, I don't know, man. It would be something if Notre Dame could win. It would be it would really be. I think it would be kind of cool actually. It would be kind of cool if Notre Dame could just knowing the path that they came from to beat Ohio State. But I think you're right. I think Ohio State's firepower um, is going to be too much. I think they're
Mhm.
they're bigger, stronger, um, faster, and I think they're just gonna dominate the situation. Um, I mean, everything on paper is following everything that you're saying. Um,
Right.
you know, I mean, you definitely want to see who's going to be sitting out. I know Ohio State has a couple injuries. Um, for Notre Dame to win, they're going to have to exploit a weakness in Ohio State,
Hmm.
and they've had a few because they've lost. They've had a few. That's why they're coming in at such a high seed, also. Um, but that being said, I think I think you're right. I think Ohio State is a little bit too much for Notre Dame. But we will find out Monday the 20th. We will definitely we will definitely find out. All right, we got a little bit of time. I want to cover some stuff we haven't been covering. Because the football's been, but we're gonna cover all the games coming up before we got coming up. And I'm gonna switch to something we haven't really been covering, and that is what am I doing here? That's the NBA. We really haven't
Right.
we haven't had any time to really cover we're gonna go over let's go over this real quick. We got some time. All right. A couple questions because we had me and you haven't talked about. How good are the Cavaliers? Are they for real? Or is this just we're hot in the beginning of the season?
Well, they have been consistent over the last couple of seasons with Donovan Mitchell there. They're really playing above and beyond for themselves and for their team. And it seems like they have the right pieces that are gelling together, of course, with Donovan Mitchell leading the way. So steals have came up, and then when they get turnovers, they fight for them. And so probably about where they're seated at in the bracket, because they're not outstanding to be number one, but they're not totally on the other end of the pole either.
I mean, they're 33-5. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, they're playing great team ball. I mean, we're halfway through the season, roughly 49%. We're 49% through the season. So, um, and here's another one. There's a couple like I said we ain't had a chance to really talk about. Oklahoma Thunder took Oklahoma Thunder because they can shoot from everywhere, from the garage, from the stands. But when it came time for them to play for the in the tournament against Milwaukee, they looked terrible. They couldn't
Hmm.
hit. They were bricking it every which way. So my thing with Oklahoma is so where Cleveland's a little bit different is Oklahoma relies so much on the 3-point shot. You know, what I mean, they're such
Right.
shooters,
Right.
and if it's not happening, it's not happening. If they're off, they're off. Now I know they've only lost 6 games. I understand that, but
Hmm.
we got another half of the season to go. Um,
Right.
the Rockets are right there behind them, 25-12. Memphis is right behind them, 25-14. Then Denver, Dallas. The Lakers are in there on the sixth seed at 20-16. Um,
Hmm.
everybody else is the Spurs still aren't where I thought they would be. I thought they would have been a little better than where they're at. But and New Orleans, of course, is at the bottom of the spectrum. That I wasn't really ain't really surprised there. And then Eastern Conference, Washington's at the bottom.
Yeah.
Not really surprised there. Is there any surprise? Like, is there anybody? I'm not. Washington and Toronto's right there, and then Charlotte, Brooklyn, Philadelphia. Um, Is there anybody? Are you surprised? Is there anybody you're really surprised at about where they're sitting?
I think everything is about where I thought it would be, based off of some of the performance from the teams, load management, trying to figure out your bench, timing, all that's done are supposed to be done when you have the involuntaries in the mini camp. But a lot of guys feel like they'll need to show that and run the risk of getting hurt, or it may be some
Right.
other personal reason why they don't do it, but they definitely took that one away from us.
Yeah, that's who else is Dallas is still in the mix. Like I said, we're at the 50% mark, 49% almost done. Like I said, they've basically played 40 games, so we got 40 more
Hmm.
to go. Um, so we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens from there. Boston still looks good. We'll see if they'll be able to repeat. Um, but it's still, like I said, the season's still a lot. We'll be covering more and more basketball. Like I said, we really there's been so much NFL going on, college football,
Right.
that it pretty much takes, the busiest time of sports gambling is the
Hmm.
NFL season. I mean, then it just kind of tapers off. People, of course, people still gamble on basketball and hockey and the college tournament and all that. But the big is huge is the NFL, and so we still got. All right, I want to thank everyone. We got a little bit of time left. I want to thank everyone again for tuning in every Tuesday night, 8 o'clock. Tony G, Big Lou, and remember, hit us up on our Facebook page, uh, Sportsbook, or you can reach out to KM Radio, either one. And again, if you have an event or if you have something that if you want us to mention on the air, if you're having some kind of um, group event that you're having and you want to talk about it and in the Shreveport area we got a new arena football coming up, the Ruggaroos. um,
Hmm.
so that should be pretty cool. We're going to try to catch a couple of them games, see how that is. Hopefully the community will come out and support. Hopefully that will be a thing. I think arena football is trying to make a little bit of a comeback. It was pretty big there for a while, and then it kind of faded out. All
Hmm.
right, guys, I want to thank everyone again for tuning in on Tuesday night, 8 o'clock on the Sports Book. All right, guys, we'll be back in 2 and 2 right here on KM Radio, where we go ham.
Damn.
Hey, Radio, we go ham. It's Tony G, Big Lou, the Sports Book, every Tuesday night, 8 o'clock. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Um, I appreciate everyone that I appreciate everybody in our sportsbook army, as Lou always says. And remember, if you guys want to hit us up, check us out in our Facebook page, the Sportsbook, or KM Radio page. And again, if you have any events, fundraisers, or anything that you might want announced, reach out to the station. The station can help. You could be on our show. We got several other shows, 24 hours a day of great programming. All right, let's get it, man. We are at the last four games of the year.
Yeah.
So the first game is Kansas City, and Houston.
Hmm. In
Kansas
Houston.
City's playing at home. They're the number one seed in the AFC. Finished 15-2. Houston's just pulled a great win against San Diego. This
Hmm.
game's got a lot of tricky stuff on it. And when I say tricky, is Kansas City's -8. So Kansas City hasn't been great this year covering the spread.
No.
Do I think Kansas City's going to win the game? Yes. Um, the over's 41.5.
Hmm.
But if you've been watching Kansas City this year, they're not putting up as many points. They're winning. They're winning. There's no doubt about that. They're winning. Um,
Hmm.
but they haven't put up the points They've been very smothering at times over teams.
Right.
This could be 20-10, 20-14. Um, there's no doubt about it. They seem to have a lot more. They seem to utilize a lot of the ball control now, a lot of time of possession now. Um,
Yes.
I think I think there's some good money to be made on this game. If you're looking at some player props, check out the yardage, the outcome of the first drive. There's going to be a lot of player props. Now's a good time. Picking, you're down to four, so you can pick who you think's going to win the Super Bowl. Do a prop bet
Hmm.
like that. Um, I think, um, like I said, I think Kansas City. I mean, there's no doubt that I think Kansas City, Houston's going to, in order for Houston to win, they're going to have to be dominant on the running game.
Hmm.
Um, CJ Stroud's going to have to be flawless. Um,
Yes.
and I think um, that's what it's going to take. That's what it's going to take for Houston to beat Kansas City at home. Can
Hmm.
it be done? Of course, it can be done. There's nothing. I'm not giving anybody saying they can't be beat. But the way Kansas
Right.
City's been playing, um, some people have brought up to my attention. Well, Mahomes didn't play last game. None of the starters. Do I think they're going to be a little bit rusty? I mean, they may be. There might be a little
Yeah.
bit of something, but they've all been practicing. Kansas City's had a
Hmm.
chance to get healthy. Um, I think Kansas City's going to come out, run the ball. They got a good running game. I think Mahomes probably throw for about 30 times, 33 times. Um, and I think it's going to be a little bit too much for the Houston. Um, I
Hmm.
see. I mean, unless you see something I don't see. I mean, the over's 41 and a half, and that over a couple years ago with Kansas City would have been low. I would have been like, man,
Right.
Kansas City's going to score 41 points by themselves.
Right.
If Kansas City wins this game, it's going to be 24. They're going to do a lot of dominant. They're going to have a lot of dominant time.
Hmm.
And they're going to take a lead and they're going to hold on to it. Like I said, you can watch them. You've watched them all seasons. And like I said, I think Houston's a good up and coming team. There's no doubt about it. Um, but I think Kansas City's just going to be too much for them. And like I said, check out some prop bets. Check out Mahomes anytime touchdown. Um, uh, like I said, I mean, and the money line, Kansas City's, it's just too much. It's minus 455. Not a lot of action. There's not a lot of money be made there. I mean, Houston obviously is plus 345. Um,
Hmm.
and like I said, Vegas has them at 8 points. Um, so Vegas don't just make stuff up. Um, but again, you can never take out the human factor, and um, the human factor is definitely Kansas City can be beat. There's no doubt about it. I just don't think Houston has the firepower to beat them, to turn it into an all-out. Because I think Kansas City is going to smother them. I think Kansas City is going to just smother them, and it's going to keep it. Uh, like I said, 24-10. It's going to be,
Hmm.
that's where I'm thinking 28-14, somewhere in there that it's going to be.
Yeah.
I don't see Kansas City just putting on a show. Because again, this year they've been very much ball control, handling the ball. If he needs to
Hmm.
come back, they like to keep it close so they can do whatever they want to do and pull the Kansas City miracle out like they always do. They've managed to
Right.
keep it close all 15 games that they won, and I think
Hmm.
they'll be the same here with Houston. I like Kansas City. Like I said, you have to find some prop bets or see what you can change the spread because like I said, Kansas City has not been good against the spread. I mean, unless there's an injury or something that my magic ball can't tell me, obviously. But I like Kansas City, and like I said, there's a bunch of good prop bets. Anytime touchdown yardage from Holmes. I can even look at the yardage on Caesars. They're not posting all that just yet. They'll post it later in the week. All right. Second game is Washington and Detroit. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking Washington. I'm thinking Washington probably can keep it close with the dynamic of Jalen Daniels. I mean, I think this may be their stopping point. They could very well win this game, but I think this is gonna be their stopping point. I think Dan Campbell has got some things cooked up that Jalen hasn't seen yet or prepared for yet. But it's all well, we do have a little film on Jalen and what he does and what he doesn't, but he has that X factor that can he can wield his team over the hump and have his team make plays or play uncomfortable. When I say play uncomfortable, do things that they're not used to doing because of the dynamic of their quarterback. But I
I
said
think
all that, yeah. But I said all that to still say that I think Detroit's going to win the game.
no, Ro. I mean, it's just. I mean, that's a fact. I mean, that's true. I think Detroit has too much firepower for
Hmm.
the Commanders. The spread's 55.5.
Right.
I like the over. That's a spread, but I like the over. I would definitely check out because Detroit plays. They don't. Philly plays. Very minimum ball, stop the time, run the clock out. Detroit's wide open from the kickoff until the
Hmm.
last whistle. So that's why they've been very successful on gambling as far as the over. Okay. So
Hmm.
it's hard to go against them on the over. Do I think Washington will score? Yeah, I think Washington's going to score.
Yeah.
They could definitely score. Detroit can be scored on. There's no doubt about it. I mean, they're
Right.
that's not even an issue. The issue is, can you stop them scoring 30 plus points? And that's the
Right.
part and that's the part that I think that they're going to have some serious issues with, and that's
Hmm.
going to be um they just can't keep up with them. I think Detroit's going to put it on them. Um,
Hmm.
and this could be 40 to 28. There's no, I mean, and it doesn't really matter to Dan Campbell how many points that they score. They're just going to outscore them. So it doesn't
Right.
really matter. He's going to play wide open, go for it on
Hmm.
fourth down, probably pull out a fake punt. I mean, he's played the same. He's very methodical about playing
Hmm.
the same. Um, like I said, there's a bunch of, like I said, anytime touchdown. Let me pull it up. So right now they got touchdown score. So they got some more stuff on this one. Touchdown score, David Montgomery, um, Gibbs, St. Brown, uh,
Hmm.
and then Washington, Jaden Daniels, Brian Robinson. I mean, there's going to be um, a lot of good prop bets. But I mean, it's hard to go against Detroit. I mean, so do, they've been playing so dominant that it's not even funny. I mean, it's really kind of scary. But again, they can be beat. They can be beat.
Hmm.
You just gonna. I just don't think Washington. I just don't think Washington has enough firepower to keep up with them, and that's all. And
Right.
I think whatever happens, Washington had a hell of a year. They're having a hell of a year. But I think they just ran it. I think they're running into the buzzsaw. So that being said, but I do like the over. I like Detroit. Maybe tweak it down from 9.5 to 7. See what you could get on that, um, and then kind of go from there. All right, let's do our next game. Let me pull that up, Lou. All right, we're pulling up our. Let me see. Our next game, the next game is the Bills and Baltimore. This
And
is
the
a pick
Ravens.
'em
Yeah.
and the Ravens. Yeah, Baltimore Ravens against Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills at home. Um, this has two. I mean, this is what I'm about to say is going to be a very duh. In order for the Bills to win, they have to take the running game out. There's only two ways that you take the running game out. One is jump out ahead, so he has to throw the ball more, or
Mm-hmm.
two, totally stop him. But you're going to have to get ahead of them in order for them to change their game plan. Because if you
Right.
watch them, they don't change their game plan. They're not going to change it because they don't have to change it. You know, what I mean, you have to stop the run first before he starts throwing the ball. Otherwise, he may.
Right.
If you don't, if the Bills don't stop the run, the Bills don't stop the run, then it could easily he might have 15 passes. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
now if the Bills can put some points on the board and get it to where it's a wide open, and then it changes. Now all of a sudden, you've taken Derrick Henry out of the loop. Now you haven't really taken Lamar. Lamar will still run if he has to, but he knows he's got to pass the ball to get some
Mm-hmm.
yards in order to score some points. So it changes the dynamic, and that's not taking anything away from Lamar. It's not giving anything to. They're just different quarterbacks. Lamar's rating is
Mm-hmm.
very high. He doesn't throw the ball a lot. He's not going to throw it 40 times. He may throw it 22 times and complete 18. They're built.
Right.
The Baltimore Ravens are built on the power run. That's it. You stop it, you beat them. If you don't, they win. And every time you see them win, Derrick Henry has 150 plus yards, Lamar has 100, and they've thrown the ball 15 to 20 times. They're only throwing it because, I guess, because they want to, because they don't have to. And
Right.
that's where you're trying to get. And that's where you're trying to get with them is you're trying to get them to make a commitment to the run.
Right.
You're trying to get them to make a commitment to the pass, and that's where they're weak at. Um, and I think it's going to take. And I mean, the weather may play a little factor. Baltimore plays in cold weather. It's not like they've never played. Um, they've never played. They would much rather have the Texans come into, what I mean. But the Texans are going to have their hands full in Kansas City because Kansas City's cold. So there's
Right.
not, I mean, that's not either or. Um, and then you are having the Philly game is waiting on the winner of because we are pre-taped. We're
Yeah.
waiting on the winner of
So
Detroit and L.A.
Detroit and the Rams, yes.
and the Rams. But I think, I think there's a lot of money to be made. I mean, I say that, but I think a lot of it's Houston with the spread, Washington, Detroit, a lot of player props.
Mm-hmm.
Like Detroit, if you could get it down to 7, and you'll see the more and more money they put on Detroit, because there's going to be a lot of money put on Detroit, the spread will
Mm-hmm.
change.
Yeah.
Trying to get some action on the other side. So right now, you can get Detroit at -9.5, and you can play with
Mm-hmm.
it. But if too much money, the spread's going to change. And the same with, I think the Ravens in Buffalo is more of a 50-50, where I think Kansas City is going to get a lot of action on money. Um, I think Detroit's going to get a lot of action, but I think Baltimore and Buffalo I think they're a 50-50 split. I think that's more of a 50-50 split. I think there's a lot of people that are, confident Kansas City, Detroit, but I think it's very split between Buffalo and the over in Buffalo is 51, which is very interesting to me
Hmm.
because, and the reason why I say that is, the Ravens have a very good defense. The Bills
Right.
have a good defense. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and with the
Bend
Ravens
but don't
running,
break.
yeah, Rabenda don't break. But then with the running game has a tendency of eating the clock a lot. So, and that I mean, the passing game is where the points are scored. You know what I mean? It's hard to, you know what I mean? They could, because Baltimore could have, they can go from one end to the field to the other end of the field, and it could easily be all running, eat up 9 minutes of the clock. You know what I mean? There's not 51 points. That's a lot. You know what I mean? That's a lot to ask. So I don't
Right.
know about, I don't know about the over. Um,
Hmm.
Now, if it's snowing, which it's not predicted to do in Buffalo this weekend, um, if it's really, really coming down and there's a blizzard, then yes, I would kind of, I would kind of go, yeah, that would, I would pick the under. But like I said, the forecast, and that's another thing, except for Detroit, Detroit's playing in a dome, so obviously that doesn't. But weather can be a factor in the Kansas City game, the Buffalo game, and the Eagles game. Because the Eagles, any three games of those, the weather could get really funky. There's no doubt about
Mm-hmm.
it. So you got to pay attention to that. But like I said, there's anytime touchdowns. There's the rushing yards. Barkley's had a good run, had a good day. The only thing I don't like
Yeah.
about the so with the Ravens, if you take if you take Henry any time, he hasn't scored a lot of touchdowns in the last 4 or 5 weeks. Scored, I
No, he
think, two,
hasn't.
maybe. He has not. So that's another leading one. I would like to have him on the rushing, as long as they don't have the rushing set too high. Um,
Right.
another thing that you got to see is every site has stuff set differently. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people don't realize that. Like, and I'll give you an example, and I'm just giving an example. Caesar's got the over at 51 and a half.
Yeah.
Well, FanDuel may have it at 47. Or, I mean, it kind of changes, and there's a lot of differences on each site that you have to pay attention to. And you're trying to get the best value. That's why they say to have as many accounts as you can have so you can get the best. I mean, if you're going to bet the over, you want to, if you're set on the over and Caesars has got it at 51 and a half and negative 115, wouldn't, wouldn't you want to have it the over at 47 at 150? I mean, it's
Yeah.
just common
Right.
sense, but a lot of people don't realize that going from one site to another has such a huge factor, and it can not everything, but a lot of stuff. Anytime touchdowns, passing yards, you just have to go through and look and see what the best odds are offering you, and that's what you're really trying to do is trying to get the best value for your money. But I think whoever the Eagles play, look at the under because whoever the Eagles play, if you've been watching the Eagles, they don't put up a lot of points. They smother teams. They eat the clock. Um, I mean, they eat the clock. I mean, they just eat the clock, score some
Mm-hmm.
points. They love to beat you 22-10, 18-7. I mean, they just are not. They're not high flying. That's the only thing that you gotta kind of watch for. Look at your
Mm-hmm.
statistics. You can look it up. You can look up, hey, Matthew Stafford, how many yards did he pass the last 4 games? That's the one thing great about nowadays compared to, before we had Google. I mean, you got to really do some research. Now you just put it in your phone and it'll tell you, and you could take an
Mm-hmm.
average and go, huh, that's weird. Or, what I mean? You can kind of go, well, hey, he's never thrown for that many yards. Why is it that many yards? Kind of do some research and see if there's somebody out, see where the advantage is or why Vegas is putting it at. Like I always tell people, I mean, me and you talk about this, Lou. I mean, Vegas gives you a number. They're not just giving you a free number. That's a number that they came up with. Um, and they're there to make money. So, that being said, I mean, that's kind of a lot to be it's been a heck of a football season, Lou, that's for sure.
Yeah. That's for sure. It's been a heck
I
of a
mean,
football season, highs and lows. It's unfortunate that we got a lot of injuries, so we didn't see the full potential in some teams. But I think with this year off, and they can come back in next year ready to go.
This year, yeah, injuries played a huge factor. How about some of the coaching change? Does not renew the contract. I thought that was kind of strange. They
Yeah,
couldn't
that
agree.
is
They
kind of
couldn't agree.
strange.
They couldn't agree on terms. Was the wording that they had? Mike McCarthy. And somebody said, "Well, man, that's good. He stinks." And I said, um, maybe in under the circumstances that he's been working, he can't. That's not a good circumstance for him. You know what I mean? Maybe you got to answer to Jerry too much. What I mean? I don't know exactly all what it is, but I'm sure it's something. Because it'd be funny if he went somewhere else and he did well. You know.
Yeah. Um,
And then we had, because I know Chicago's interested in him, uh,
I think that's where he might end up.
and the Saints.
But
The
Pete,
Saints. They said the Saints too were interested. No, you
yeah,
don't like him for the Saints.
well, uh, I think I can't say that he wouldn't be a good fit compared to what they have, but I don't think the Saints is a good fit for him.
Who do you like for the Saints? Who do you think would be a good fit?
Uh, who do I think would be a good fit is uh Minnesota's defensive coordinator that coached Miami. I think he would be a good fit.
Oh,
I also think that I also think with Ben Johnson, then you got the dynamic of uh Clint Kubiak with his offensive scheme that works, if the personnel is right. But it's a few out there. I don't think it's I don't think that it's McCarthy though.
okay. Well,
But Pete, yeah. But yeah, I heard Pete Carroll's gunning for the job too.
see, and I think Pete Carroll's way of coaching isn't I don't know. It's hard for me to.
I don't think that his style of coaching works in this era of football
And I,
because
and
he's
I
a rah rah go all out for your team type coach, and
he is a
these
rah rah
guys
guy.
are look at me, I have a brand type players now.
Yes,
So
that's
you
true.
got to think in their dynamic, but also get the best out of them, which means you have to relate
Yes.
to them. I don't think Pete is going to relate to him in that space.
Well, I hate to say this. Pete's got to be in the 70s, right?
Yeah, he's got to be
Yeah. So I mean, and I mean, things have changed. I mean, whether we
right.
like it or we don't. Um, the Tom Landrys and the Shulas and all that. They were, I mean, they lasted a long time. Things change. Um,
Hmm.
it's a different game now. I mean,
Right.
their football knowledge is no. We're not taking any of that away.
No,
I don't even know if the big tuna would do well now. I don't know if
no,
you
I
could
don't.
talk
I
to
don't think
people.
so.
I don't think you could
I
cuss.
right.
I don't think you could cuss out your starting quarterback anymore.
Especially, yeah, the checks are too high now.
You know what I'm saying? He was brutal, but at least he was brutal to everybody. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah,
He
he was
cussed
brutal.
everyone out. Yeah, he
Right.
didn't care who you were. It was just like, oh wow. But yeah, but is he a great football mind? Of course he is, just like Bill Belichick. Um,
Hmm.
but things change. You got to be, and that's why I think Sean McVay, guys like him, the younger coaches, Minnesota's
Hmm.
coach, that defensive coordinator from, I mean, I think you're right. I think those are good, strong coaches, can relate. Not going to be,
Yeah.
they're not, not going to be just pushovers. Um, and I think, that's what Dallas needs. I think Dallas needs a strong coach that who is truly in charge. And I don't think
Right.
Jerry has. I don't think Jerry has to quit or anything. I think Jerry just needs to sit down and let the coach do the
Yeah.
coach. That's
Right.
all. You're the owner. Do the owner things. Pull a Robert Kraft on us. Own the team and let the coach. Don't micromanage it. That's all. That's all you got to do. Just don't
Right.
micromanage it. Let the
Right.
man you're paying $8 million a year do his job, and I think everything will be fine. Are you going to step on a couple toes? Well, sure you are. That's just business. That's just how it goes.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but it is what it is. Well, let's see next week. We'll definitely see what we got going for next week, and a lot of great playoff games this week.
Hmm.
Gamble wise, try to win some money. All right, guys, I want to thank everyone for tuning in every Tuesday night with Tony G, Big Lou, the Sportsbook. Remember, hit us up on our Facebook Sportsbook or our KM Radio Facebook page. All right, guys, right here on KM Radio, where we go ham.
Ham.